And we are back again. The reason I asked you about your knives, have you seen these yet?
I've seen them, never had a Richard.
So, um, the older fellow that I'm working with now uses these,
Okay.
and the black handle ones because they're not stainless, right? So that to me is very weird because I'm used to stainless.
Yeah.
But the how delicate you're holding that. One of the things that he told me, like from day one, he's like, if I bump your arm, your knife should fall out of your hand. And I thought that was weird because I always have a chokehold on everything that I'm right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same with my mud pan. It's the same thing. He's like, you're just you know cuddling or cradling it, right?
Yeah.
I'm like
You death grip.
death grip on it, and he's like, I bet your fucking elbow is killing you, like your forearm, right? And
Yeah.
of course it was. Um, those are the things that I'm learning from him that are huge. But I kind of fell in love with that handle, and then I'm at CSR doing we did the three-way event,
Okay.
whatever, a couple months ago, and Brad came out of the back and he's like, "Look at these things," and I loved them. So I've been using them for about a month, and I really do enjoy them.
Oh
Um,
wow.
hmm. But I don't think I'm a. What is it? Blue steel? Is that the other one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know. It's
I
very
don't like
flexible.
them just because they rust real quick. Like the first couple of uses, if you're not keeping them perfectly clean and stuff, they're toast. Not that they're bad. It's just they get that rust, and then when you go to smear, it's like a whole big ugliness going up the wall. So
Yeah, it's
I'm
kind of.
I'm I'm like going along with that. Like it should fall. I'm what I call, I think, a finesse finisher.
Mhm.
Like I'm really, I'm not just slapping mud up there. I'm like feathering and yeah.
And it's easier on the body,
Mhm.
which I never would have thought. Um, I was running the auto taper the one day, and he came and he like just kind of poked like a part of my back. I didn't know what he was doing. He didn't say anything, and he walked away. And the next morning, when I got out of bed, basically that spot was sore. And
Well,
it wasn't him, like he's not tremendously like
uh,
powerful or anything, but it was like the I guess the way I
your
hold,
muscles, and
and
he's
he
like,
he
you're gonna hurt.
he could see it, right? That's yeah, I've been very fortunate to working with him. Um, do you do anything with CSR down there? Like do like
I
where
don't even know if we have a CSR in California, do we?
no,
I don't think we do.
there's only two, and the Barry um location just opened, but they're all of North America. I think they're international too,
Okay.
with their shipping. But my only thought process there was we could get you a sample pack from them. They're really good. But I
Okay.
guess Nick's right around the corner from you, right? He's in
He's
Albuquerque.
he's over in New Mexico. Is it New Mexico?
Uh-huh.
Albuquerque or something like that? Yeah.
Hmm. Um, that's what we were doing out west. Did you see any of that stuff?
I
Uh,
saw some of that. The event when he had his stuff going on. Are you talking about the Fresco Harmony event or the CSR event you had? Which
no, the fresco event we just did it at Columbia.
yeah, okay. I saw some of
Um,
that on Instagram.
yeah, Aaron flew Cam and Nick and I out, and then they've bought a house for their parents out there. Well, I
Hmm.
guess their parents bought a house out there, and the top floor was just all killed. Like it was wallpaper and like not even drywall, like quarter-inch wood paneling, kind of as all the walls.
Oh wow.
So when they took a look at that, it was like this would be a good thing to just fresco over,
Okay.
and it turned out pretty good. Um, it's it depends what kind of a guy you are. If you like
Mhm.
everything to be flat and everything to be uniform, it's probably not gonna hit you like it does me.
Mhm.
But I really enjoy it. If you do two colors, you kind of get some veining from the bottom color through, and I really enjoy that. It kind of gives it some depth.
See, I would like that because I love Venetian plaster. That's
Hmm.
one of my big, like, I like the colors, the depths, the gloss or the flats that you can get from those. So
Hmm.
those like that fresco, like I do like that because I was trained slick finish, smooth,
Yes.
which is just boring as heck. Once you know how to do it, it's just like mud on, mud off, sand, mud on, mud off, sand, And then I was like, okay, texture. Well, texture is pretty cool, except it's all orange peel, stomp, or knockdown. And now they're doing all these pull trials and stuff like that. And I didn't know how to do that to begin with. And now I've learned how to do the skip trial and pull trial. And so I just like them all. I'd probably have to say I like smooth wall best.
Mhm.
But if I could make a Venetian accent wall, that would be my pick, or fresco.
Yeah, I don't think I'm ever gonna do a whole house. He's got guys down in Albuquerque like spraying a whole house with the first coat, and then coming through and troweling the second, and like they're in and out of houses in 3 days.
Wow.
So like you're gonna make a lot of money doing that. But
Yeah.
this is the stuff I like. Like I got
That's more artsy to me.
yeah, like I did this a little while ago.
Yeah. See, I like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's got some depth to it, some pattern, but it's not just typical orange peel or knockdown. It's just like, whoa.
Yeah, and that like little bit of extra it's almost like artwork, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
I did a stomp too, where I did white on the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
stomped and laid down,
Okay.
and then I came over with like a light green on the top. Awesome.
Oh wow.
It's also kind of like the sky's the limit and you can't fuck it up. Like it's I don't know how to say it. It really comes down to who's looking at it of if they like it or not, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're selling it to the client, right? So if they like it, then they're gonna love it or hate it.
Well, and that's kind of the idea is you'll take in a bunch of sample boards and you'll go check this out and
Uh-huh.
they'll go, I like this design and oh, I like that color or I like these two colors,
Yeah.
and then you'll make them a couple specific sample boards. And if they like that, you move forward. And if they don't, then it's not everyone's cup of tea or whatever. But yeah, it's a neat product. Like Venetian's just so expensive that nobody does it,
Yeah.
right? And if you're going to get into something like that in a bathroom, they've got these massive tiles now. They're like 10 by 10, marble tiles. Why would you do Venetian?
Yeah.
Right.
Because
So,
that won't ever scratch.
yeah, right. Yeah, so it's neat. It's a cool idea. What he's done is he's come up with a color palette that's consistent.
Okay.
So, even if you wanted to sand it and then take the painter's money, you can do that. It's kind of neat.
Hmm. Wow.
It's different, right? I feel like I'm attracted to anything that is not what's been going on for the last 10 years, if that makes sense.
Yeah. New stuff. I like new stuff.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. As long as it works. Like Corey's knife
Mhm.
is 3-in-1. That thing works.
Yes.
But there's been like that drywall ripper that would rip both sides of the drywall and you zip up. I'm like, it just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
There's certain tools you're like, yeah, that's just too gimmicky. And then other tools that work great. Like I wasn't sold on skimming blades to begin with.
Mhm.
And after I used them a couple times, I was like, you know what? These things are handy as hell. For big bastard joints, that's like, wow, that you can pack some mud in there.
Yeah, that 32 tomahawk is like irreplaceable for me now.
Yeah.
Um even I had a 48 and then somebody decided it was theirs on one of the jobs,
Good.
but I felt like it was too big for a bunch of things, but I've had a couple of bulkheads now that are bigger than the 32 and then
Mhm.
you're like, well, what do you do now? Right?
Yeah.
So it's the the bigger ones are kind of specific,
Yeah.
but I love them. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a big one. I have the 48 still, and then I got
Hmm.
the 32, and then I got a 24, which I hardly ever use. But yeah, I had the Tape Tech ones to begin with, and then I got a Columbia set, and I love the Columbia. They're heavier, but I feel like they're better quality.
So I always put things through the ring. When at least if they're sent to me to be like somewhat reviewed or whatever. And
Mhm.
I took either end of that 24 and I like stomped my foot to see if I could bend that, and I couldn't do it. So
Wow.
I was like, okay. I was pretty impressed because I know I wasn't going to use the 24 anyways. So I was going to mangle this fucking thing, right? And I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I was impressed. Um, so are you just going to stay on the same path? You figure you're pretty content, eh?
I'm gonna just stay on the patching path unless I can find some good help.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking at least for another 5 to 10 years. And then since I do have supervision skills, if it's my company, then I might just start, offloading some of the stuff to the younger guys and whatnot and just oversee the work. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
not quite there yet.
Yeah, and you really need to be there
Yeah.
if you're going to do it. Yeah.
Mentally, I got to be prepared for it because I know I'm gonna have really high expectations, and I know I'm not gonna. Oh, I'm not saying don't know, but I have high expectations of what I expect, and that's gonna be hard, because I'm my own worst critic.
The same. I think that's what makes us good is that I'm always worried. Like every site that I finish sand, I'll go through one more time. Like everything gets light checked like 3 times. And then I'm still that whole night going, man, when they get back to me and say it's all shit, what am I gonna do? And whatever. I
Isn't that
did
awful?
it's fucking the worst.
I hate asking, like, what do you think? But they're usually like, that looks great, because I'm afraid to text them like it goes silent in a text thread or something. Like, did I make them happy? Are they mad? Or I'm thinking all night, did I not do good? And I know I did, but
Yeah.
my middle head's going, oh, what if they didn't like it?
A good friend of mine just flipped a house, his first house, and he did all the framing. He had a boarding team come in. Like, I mean, it was 6,000 board feet, and I think there was like 12 butt joints in the whole house. Like, it
Wow.
was awesome. They did a
Oh,
great job, and I came in, taped it, and then just like you said, fucking radio silence, right? So I'm like, okay. So then the painter comes in and paints it. I'm trying to remember what I went back for. Anyways, and I was like, yeah, so how does it look? And he's like, this is awesome. Because I think he is like a residential painter. So
mhm.
I imagine some of the shit that this guy sees on a regular
Oh yeah.
basis.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, spray and back roll. We had a couple of funny things that happened there, though. There was some flex in one of the walls. I don't think there was enough mud behind the fiberfuse. The
Mhm.
fiberfuse like melded itself, if you know what I mean. Like the mud became it. But the whole thing came off. Like it was a blister about this big. And
Okay.
I think if I had just cut it out and patched it properly, it would have been fine. But
Mhm.
I kind of wanted to investigate. So I put in the whole fucking thing came off. But other than that, and one crack of one butt joint, and it was like this big,
Oh yeah.
and the rest of the site was mint. Um, I always worry though. It's it I don't know. You're just being tough on yourself, right?
Yeah, it sucks,
Yeah.
but that's where I'm OCD about it. And I'm like, oh God, did I not do good? Because I always ask for my review after. I send a text like, hey, if you don't mind doing a review.
Oh
And when it
yeah.
goes silent, I'm like, oh God, are they not happy? Or, but I don't follow up on them. I just like, okay, I'll just let it be because no news is good.
No, yeah, well, yeah.
In some ways, so.
Yeah, it was so weird that when that tape fell off, because I had been back there once to do whatever the little touch up was, and once to just check it out. And after it was painted, I checked it out, primed, I should say. And then when
Mhm.
I came back and it was fully painted, that's when that tape thing happened. So I almost wonder if it like had something to do with the amount of like moisture that came in with the paint or what, because I've never come across that with fiberfuse.
I've had a few weird things happen with fiber shoes, but mine was like hot mud related. Like I think my
Mhm.
hot mud set up too quick because I'll mix it more soupy so it gets through the fibers and it penetrates.
Yeah.
And like you said, I had some where it got too dry, started setting up too quick, and I was still trying to run it at the 5 or 20, and then it just wanted to peel back off the wall. I was like, okay, I think I know what's going on here. But
Hmm.
that was trial and error. I was learning how to use fiber fuse.
Um, I know you mentioned it on Nick's podcast, but that FiberFuse Max, are you using that?
I still use it. I bought a case of it from Menards, and the reason I did is because I like using it in the angles. Because normal fiber fuse, I'll use it, but if you have to be super gentle with it or you
Yeah.
cut it, it's worse than mesh tape, right? When you're trying to crease it in there. And that other stuff, the Max, if I take my corner roller and roll it through there, it doesn't rip it. It just lays it down nice and flat. And I like it.
Yeah, I the first time I ever used it was through a Predator and I put it in backwards.
Ooh.
So all that the lumpy shit that is, yeah, it was all oh man, it was a
Oh yeah.
nightmare. And I walked away from that like everybody else going, this stuff's fucking terrible.
It does lay down a little thicker too. So like if you're using on regular butt joints or something, it's you got to compensate for that because it's not quite as paper thin as the fiber fuse.
Hmm. I really do like the strength of it though. A couple of times I've used it. I'll do all my flats and butts with fiber, and then I'll do my corners with paper. I've just a few times had issues with cracking in the corners, and it makes sense. I talked to Ice Rock about it, and
Oh, I was
it.
just gonna say, I know what he does. He uses mesh tape.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he'll use mesh tape it, pre-fill it, mesh tape it, and then put the fuse over the top of that. So he's doing two coats.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
So
Yeah, that I'm trying to remember what he calls it, but when he does that V of a butt joint, he'll
mhm.
spray that with the glue and then put the mesh like it. It's the process with him that makes sense, right? And it, yeah, I guess both of his are out now. But on the second, which was actually the first
Mhm.
podcast that he came out on, he was just talking about things like that, like process. Um, his patchworks, he'll make like a little cup in the wall, right?
Mhm.
And then you
Mhm.
spray it, and then you go through the process. Um, yeah, you really need to watch his on YouTube. You can't really listen to it
Yeah,
because
no,
he's like
I've followed him
here
for a
talking
long
about
time.
this and doing then over here like this and right a bunch of different tools.
He's got all
Um, so were you ever on Drywall Talk?
I
It
don't
was like
think so.
it was
Doesn't
like a
ring a bell. I've
it
only
was like
done Nick and you so far.
oh no, so this was like a forum
Okay.
on the internet like
Oh
before.
yeah, I think I remember it. I remember
Yeah,
seeing it,
okay.
but I was never really on it.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was a thing. Um, but I think that's where like Brian and Richard and Nick, like they all the older kind of players, like they were all on it. It's interesting. I was never that big into computers to be honest. It's Facebook took over, but like I was in high school or whatever, right? So that's kind of the reason why. Mm,
Did you ever see that tool that they came out with? I don't think they still make it, but it was like a big wheel with a V groove on it and a little metal handle. It was called the butt taper or butt groove, something like that. It was pretty
no.
cool. So what you do is you spray bottle your butt joints down, wet the edges, and then you just run this thing through the crease, and it would V groove a nice perfect V groove up through the butt joint and lay all that paper nice and flat tucked in. And I've never been able to find one because when I wanted one, they were just probably about 10 years ago. They were probably a couple $100 at the time. I was like, hey, I can't
Mm,
afford that. So, I had the family and all that crap back then. But the process makes total sense because it just creases it just enough to push all that busted paper and stuff back into the joint,
right.
So,
That's brilliant.
yeah. And on that note, have you ever used butt boards?
So I've not used Buttboard, like for a full site.
Mm-hmm.
I grabbed a piece from somebody. They kind of like gave it to me, and I tried it, and it was neat. Um, Nate uses it on everything now,
I was
and
gonna say, do you trust it? Because I trust it. I think it
yeah,
works.
I just feel like that's one of those things that you just have to use it. And then
Mhm.
after a while, you get to see, like I understand how it works. I like how it works. The way that I've seen everyone using it, it makes sense,
Mhm.
but I haven't had enough time on it myself.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I see it working because if you're traditionally buttoned up onto just 2x4 framing and you only got, inch and a half that you're trying to put that butt joint on, if that moves or anything, that can pop easily, right? Well, if you're
mhm.
floating out in the middle of nowhere and there's not that pressure, it seems like a win-win, like it works.
Well, and no more cutting, right?
Yeah,
Like
no more cutting.
yeah, you're gonna land in in a cavity, and then you're gonna put this thing in. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And then you railroad everything too, right? So you're just
Well,
running.
you don't have to. I mean, you can railroad it. I
Mhm.
don't know if I'd railroad it still. I mean, you can because it's supposed to be smaller, but
So
yeah, I don't
that's
know.
the thing that comes back every time that I talk to somebody about putt, because you're basically just running your box over it like it's a bevel.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, 'cause it's recessing it back in.
yeah. So yeah, I guess that would work anyways, even if it wasn't
Right.
railroaded, because you're going from a bevel to a. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I just like how it's just one run. What
I'm
other?
not against it as long as it works and it cleans up nice. I'm all for it. But yeah,
Yeah, I'd like to get a full site board and tape. Use the butt board. Did you ever use that glue? Like it's like an adhesive, comes out of almost like a spray foam gun, and they go down the all the studs with it. You put your board on, and then the whole board's held by like 10 screws.
well, I know they do that back east.
Yeah,
Back in Michigan and Minnesota, they'll like use the glue and then like 3 or 4 screws. I'm like, what? Like out in the middle of the field, they got like 2 screws. I'm like, how
yeah.
are they doing it? But yeah, no glue in the Midwest a little, but not like Colorado, California. I've never seen glue.
Yeah, I'd still not come across it. And I figured at some point somebody would be using it and I'd be able to kind of see them do it.
Yeah.
Not yet.
No, I kind of believe in a few fasteners at least.
Yeah, and it's like it doesn't take that much time. Screws are absolutely my nemesis for sure. Where you'll, unless I'm doing it myself, every
Mhm.
single screw. So I'll go through with a thing in
Sure, all
90,
set.
yeah, and a screwdriver.
Yeah.
But I feel like anybody else touches them and they're all over the place. And same with the busted paper.
Hmm.
Hit that with like sander, get the fluff out of that, and then punch the wall in,
Yeah.
like
I
with the
always
end of the
take the
knife.
crown of my knife and
Yeah,
kind of grind those in. Yeah.
a little bit of like a turn
Hmm.
action. Yeah.
And they actually sink better after you hit it with mud and then you hit it and kind of grind it in, and kind of sets it better.
Hmm. That's another thing that this guy's taught me is put the mud on it first, then do your mush in, and it does. I don't know how that makes a difference, but it really does.
Yeah. And then I don't like my mud real thin on screws. Like I'll use straight out of the bucket all purpose for my screws or hot mud because hot mud doesn't shrink very much.
Right.
So if you go spotting them, just spotting them, not sliding them,
Hmm.
they just I think they turn out way nicer. They're not gonna suck back in like guys use their taping mud. It's all soupy and it's like yeah, whatever. No comment.
Yeah. My first round is with 90, and then I'll come back with mud for the next two, but I'll hit them 3 times.
Yeah,
I like the nail spotter. It's just fast.
they're nice.
Um, yeah, but I mean, like, if it's the size of a tune, well, a tuning doesn't mean shit to you because you're American. But I mean, like a size of a quarter or something a little bit bigger than that. If you're doing
Mhm.
90, if you can keep it like that, it's not a big mess everywhere.
Yeah.
And then when you come back with the mud, you can kind of, like you said, do the dragon swoop or whatever it's
Mhm.
called.
Well, my dad taught me to spot twice, slide the third coat. The
Yeah.
reason being is you can see when you're spotting, you can see when they're crisscrossing, and on your final coat, that's that third slide, they're done when you're
Yes.
going everything. So that's how I was taught, saying whereas like if you the guys that just slide them a couple times, sometimes you don't know if it's 2 coats, 3 coats, 4 coats. It's hard to tell sometimes.
Yeah, you really need to pick the thing you're going to do today and complete it.
Hmm.
And because yeah, when you get into that, like, at least with the boxes, this is obviously an 8 or this is obviously a 10, but things like nails, things like corner bead, like it's because you don't want to be doing extra coats.
Yeah.
But man, missing a coat, that's a killer.
Have you ever boxed your corner bead?
No, that's so I
It is so nice. Once you
yeah.
figure out how to do it, it levels out almost perfect. It
So
fills that bead dope.
so are you filling it with the box too, like right from nothing?
Yep, yep. You just hook that one wheel on, or now they got the bead
Yeah, the
blade,
guide,
whatever, and you just right up it, just pack it in there,
and
and
just dump it.
it turns out nice. Yes, it does.
Okay.
And I used to always squat, pull halfway up, like on 8 footers. I'd pull halfway up and then pull halfway down because I don't like lots of lap marks here. I'm always going
Mm,
to lap, so you have less lap marks. And my beat always turned it when I boxed it, it turned out beautiful.
yeah. That
Got
was
it.
another big one. Is I always hated coming off of the ground because I'm so big, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you're bent right over. You can't do the pressure that you need and that kind of stuff. And Bill comes over. He goes, "You look like you hit the gym once, in your life, kind of thing." I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "You know how to do a squat?" Of course I do. He goes, "Okay, do a squat." So you put the box on the wall, you do your squat, and then you're
no,
like,
I did.
"Holy shit, that's perfect." And it you can get into a little bit of a rhythm with it too, right? So you
Yeah,
do it up until like whatever your belly button, so 4 feet or
yeah,
whatever it is, and then come all the way down until you can't anymore. And yeah, no more lap marks like that. And if it is, it's at the very bottom of it. So
yeah. It's easy to hit, strike it as you're going. And that's what I always do is like as I'm going through a job, I'm like striking stuff off as I'm seeing it. Like my jobs, I'm like, okay, cross this off, cross that off. That way you can alleviate, scrape it and then
mhm.
cross it. That way you don't have to sand it.
That's another thing that they do with the 45 is they'll cake it on. So I never did any trowel work until I met this guy. It was all just knife and machine.
Mhm.
So he does this. You lay it on, cut the edge, and then smooth it out, and then next. Like if you've touched it 4 times, you've touched it too
Too
many
much.
times. And then you kind of take a look at all the shit that's left over, and you're like, man, this is so unacceptable. And then he came and got me like whatever, 10 minutes later. We went back, and then just with his, 4 inch smoothed out all that shit, and it didn't
And
affect
you're like,
anything.
whoa.
This is an absolute game changer. Yeah. And then obviously the better that you get with the trowel, the less that you have to do that and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, I had a guy doing that stuff with butt joints and coming in with, other factory joints. And I'm like, God, that's a mess. And he's like, watch, we'll come back in a little bit. And then he just hit it again. I was like, wow, it just all feathered in. I was like, dang.
I love seeing anybody that's really good at something.
Yeah.
So when you get to see that in like the taping community, you're like, this is awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what else you got going on? Like what other than golf and fishing, you got any other hobbies you're going at?
I don't get to go shooting a lot. I like to go shoot.
Oh,
Got a few guns. Um, what else? All the hobby stuff, airbrushing, cry cut, acid etching, glass etching. Like I got too many hobbies.
yeah, okay.
I got a motorcycle, got a 2016 street glide, but I don't ride it enough.
Yeah.
Um, that's probably going to go soon because I'm thinking about getting a jet ski. If I can get a jet ski
Well,
and figure out where to park it on the property, and it's a fishing jet ski. So it's actually Sea-Doo makes it. It's really cool. It's got a big cooler on the back, rod holders.
no way.
Yeah, fish finder on there, music, and like so the seat swivels so you can spin around on it from your sitting position, operating position.
That's dope.
It's pretty dope. So I'm like, oh yeah, I don't think I need the street bike no more. I think I need to be in
Mm,
the water where I'm not gonna get killed. I might get hit by a shark, but whatever.
it's
I'd rather get
okay.
by a shark than some kid texting on his phone.
Oh man.
Yeah. That's the pretty much one of the reasons I don't ride that much anymore because I've had a couple close calls and I've ridden my whole life. So it's like, yeah. In SoCal, they split the lanes. You ever so they ride between the lanes on the highways. Like you'll be driving at 60 miles per hour and a crotch rocket will go right between two cars, and you're just like, whoa, where'd that go? And you're not
Jesus.
if you're not paying attention and you're going to switch lanes, boom. So it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna ride like that.
We'll see that a little bit, but it's usually guys that are like, you can tell that they're, it's just a extended piece of their body almost, right?
Yeah,
Like they know what they're doing. But yeah, man, you got some kid texting the veers in his lane. Yeah, and he fucking hits you.
yeah, it's done. You can be done. So yeah. So that kind of stuff. What else? Um, Mentoring, like I do
Mhm.
spend a little bit of time when I got the time on Facebook and I answer lots of questions. It's funny because my girlfriend's like, all you ever do is watch drywall videos on Instagram and face. I'm like, well, it's what I do. I love it. I honestly used to hate this job. Back when I came out of high school, I was like sanding. I was like, ugh, I just
Mhm.
hated drywall. Go home all dirty, filthy, and people look you up and down in the elevator like you're scum. It's
Yeah.
like building your building, bitch. But and now it's like now with the people I meet, clients, now I
Yeah.
love it, because they're happy, I'm happy, I'm making good money doing it, and it's a reflection of what I do. But
Well,
took a lot of years to finally go, okay, I'm gonna put this effort into it. This is me, my branding, and now I love it.
yeah, I almost want to say it was like 10 years ago where I made that decision that this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna get real good at it.
Uh,
Um, and I love it. It there's been this like enormous back and forth about me because I make a lot of content, right? And I work a lot with Columbia. I like um but at the time I was still running sites.
yeah.
So it wasn't like I was finishing all day every day. And so there was this kind of an uproar of like, you're not a taper. And
Hmm.
and that's okay, right? Because I kind of wasn't, right? I wasn't doing it, 24 hours a day or whatever. But I love it,
Yeah.
like that's what I was doing after work as like a hobby. Now I was making money and it was my business, and
Mhm.
you're interacting with everybody, which is great.
Yeah.
But these questions of like, why would you want to do that when you're over here doing this? Well, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Like I don't get the same feeling um walking away from a site that I know I've put everything into, and I know somebody's gonna walk the next trade's gonna walk in after me and go, holy shit, like this was really well done.
Yeah.
You're never going to find that running sites. The customer is never going to walk into a site that they've paid $2 million for and go, this is excellent. They're going to go, you know, any possible fucking thing they can is going to be an issue,
It's gonna be yeah.
or it wasn't, fast enough or whatever, right? Like it's there is a sense of accomplishment that comes
Mhm.
from drywall that I love.
Yeah.
um, I think there is a switch happening right now where just about everybody that comes on, we have this conversation of, um, the like grimy construction worker.
Mhm, mhm.
These people are poor, and you want to get an education so you're not going to be like them.
Yeah.
And you know, I I know lots of guys that make six figures doing drywall work, and they're happy. And I think I'm not sure if it's like promoted more that there is like a quality way up here.
Mhm.
Maybe people didn't know about that before. Um, I also have said a few times that like construction is this funnel that all of the misfit toys fall into. You know what I mean? And drywall seems to be the one that they all land on.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of like rough around the edges people that are never going to want to do anything more than wait for Friday night.
Mhm.
But there's that in every industry,
Yeah.
right? It's not That's not just
The trades
construct.
are the trades are famous and bad for that. Especially,
Totally.
yeah, like uneducated, alcoholic, drug addicts, and all they care is that, hey, I want a paycheck, and Friday can't get here soon enough.
I remember the first time I saw a flat roof happening. I was like, this is so cool, right? I'm talking to the guy that I'm working for at the time, and he goes, you'll never be a flat roof. I said, why? He goes, well, you've never been to jail and you're not addicted to anything. so
Right?
it, we had a good laugh about it. Now, that being said, after running large sites, there are roofers that are bang on too. it's kind of the joke that goes around with it all, right?
But like what you just said, I have no tattoos, fairly normal looking, and I think I get a lot of work from that. Like
Yeah.
when an older couple sees me walking up to the door, they're not like, "Oh my god, that guy's covered in, you know, Nazi tattoos or whatever," and like scary as hell. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, you know, aside from my beard, but like I'm pretty normal. And once they get to know me, they're like, "Hey, you're nice," and you know, so it's the big teddy bear.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I feel like a lot of us that are, you're the bigger fella, and you know, you look a certain way from 100 feet, and then people get to know you. That seems to be the thing that keeps coming up, is your big teddy
Don't
bear. Like,
don't judge a cover by its, you know, just by the, you know, a book by its cover. But yeah,
mhm.
so
All right, we got about 4 minutes left. Do you have any shout outs you want to do?
uh all the Instagram people that follow, yeah, like Edward May, Josh Martin, Corey, all those guys. Yeah, I like all my Instagram crew. Drywall artist, Josh.
Yeah, Josh is
Yeah.
awesome.
So we worked together on a couple jobs. He actually
Oh
hired me,
yeah,
and I worked with him because he was in a pinch. So we actually, and it's really funny. His last name is Gray too, and
yeah,
my last name is Gray. And I'm like, hey, we both got, you know, same mom, but we're both in drywall. It's just funny because I never knew him back in the day, you know, because he had started drywall later in life. You
yeah.
know, I think he's going on 10 years now or something like that. But yeah, it was just funny, and we click really good. I always click really good with good people, you know.
Yes. The more I meet people in this industry, like when I met Aaron,
Mhm.
I didn't know what to, you know, the guy runs a massive company, at least that's what it felt like. And
Yeah,
you spend a little bit of time with him, and he's just like us. You know, he just wants to do the best that he can for everybody, and that's the way she goes.
yeah, he's super
Um,
approachable.
oh my God, yeah, 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 yeah.
Like a walking in construction encyclopedia.
That's so funny. So Josh was going to be one of the first people on this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then we had it. I don't remember what stopped it from happening. But then it just kind of took off. I should get back in touch with him. It's I really like his page.
Oh, he's
It's
he's a good guy. He's really
yeah.
humble. Fishes. Yeah, we just clicked right from the get-go. He's a really good guy.
Yeah, he's a super cool guy. The hip hop is big with me too. Like
Mhm.
I really like that whole scene. And like he's like deep in this. He's still like going to places.
Oh yeah, he was a skater way back in the day.
I got a little bit of that from him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well,
So
that's amazing, man. Thanks so much for coming on. I've been
well,
waiting for
thanks for
this
having
one
me. I
for a
appreciate
long
it.
time. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
been a good time. Thank you, buddy.
All
So,
right.
and then let me show you my big bear here real quick.
Well, yeah, let's see it.
Let's see if I can let me pick him up. Come here, big guy. Come here. Get you over
Ah, I
there.
love it.
Come here. Look at the kill. Look at kill. Without biting my face. See? Where's that guy? Yeah, say hi.
Oh, that face.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Ah.
So yeah, thanks for having me, and have a good day, bud.
Okay, we'll
Or
do.
you're in the evening. I'm going in the evening now. So dinner time.
Be humble, treat everyone the same, and do your fucking job.